It looks as though the truckers are operating without a coherent plan, and there doesn't seem to be anyone in charge. They've arrived in Ottawa, or a lot of them have. They've begun to arrive in Ottawa. The demonstration is set for tomorrow. I wonder what's going on. I wonder what's going on in the heads of the demonstrators. I wonder what they expect to happen. I wonder what they expect to do. Um, I wonder what their plan is if and when nothing happens and nobody seems to be in charge. Because that's when rumors start to go crazy. People get restless just wandering around without an idea because they've been keyed up driving all the way to Ottawa and watching it on the news and, um, you know, encouraging each other on YouTube and things like that. 6th of January last year, I think the same thing kind of happened. Everyone converged on Washington and they didn't know really what was going on. They didn't even seem to know what was going on when they rioted. They smashed into the Capitol buildings. They broke into, I think it was the House of Representatives. And, there's that famous picture of the three people standing there with the guy with the horned headdress on. And they're standing there and it's like, okay, now we're here. Now what? Now what do we do? Really? If you haven't thought of that, that's when, things start to get a bit bizarre. Because when you don't have a planned demonstration with coherent aims, with an actual battle plan, a game plan to get from where you are, i.e. a bunch of angry demonstrators, to where you want to be, i.e. You want vaccine mandates to be withdrawn or whatever. Okay, now, how do you get from an angry bunch of demonstrators to no vaccines? I don't think they've actually thought that out. They're just angry people who are pissed off and want to apply pressure to the government by demonstrating. Excellent idea, in my opinion. If you're ever mad at the government, demonstrations are always a good idea. However, they have to be organized demonstrations with a point to them and with somebody at least with a vague idea as to what's going on and maybe coordinating it or something like this, who can then sort of address the crowd and tell them what they want to hear and tell them what they're going to do in the future or suggest ideas as to what they're going to do in the future. But if they just show up there and it's just nothing is happening, that's, you have two possibilities, I suppose. It just peters out and they, nothing happens, which I think may be what happens here. Or they or some among them get frustrated and start to act a bit crazy. How many undesirables have they picked up on the way to Ottawa? Does anybody know? And what are these people going to do once the fat is in the fire tomorrow, if the fat is in the fire tomorrow? I still think this could be a positive thing. But there's a lot of scope for trouble. One thing is for certain. I do not think the government is going to allow itself to get caught with its pants down the way the authorities did in Washington on the 6th of January. And if they do, well, I have no pity for the authorities if they allow that to happen again. But again, I would say the odds are nothing is going to happen. It's just going to be kind of, okay, we did it now, and I hope you feel better. Hopefully there's no big riot. But one thing I would say, there's no real danger to public order except in the immediate surroundings of the demonstration. They're not going to overthrow the government of Canada. It's just not going to happen in spite of how many lunatics may have attached themselves to the convoy. It isn't going to happen. Anyone who thinks that that could even remotely happen in some world doesn't understand how our governmental system works. I don't know. May you live in interesting times. I find this an interesting thing. I'd like to see how it plays out. I certainly hope that nobody gets hurt, and I hope that property damage is not an issue. But it's possible. You never know. We shall see.